Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. That is Jack. I'm Connor. This is the 45 match week 21 Premier League review. Week 21 is now done and dusted. Look back at the 5 matches we talked about, plus just talk about a couple others maybe. But it just reinforces the fact that the Premier League is bonkers, right? And this wasn't even the craziest weekend of results, but there was just enough weirdness to happen. You know, there's 13 points to separate Man City at the top of the table and Arsenal at 10th. 13 points. 44 to 31, right? Last year, 21 points separated 1 to 10. The year before, 26 points. So it's really and truly wide open this year. Can you expect a 10th place club to come and take a title this year? Probably not. But it is so tightly bunched, and there are so many points to be had. Nuts. And this came right after the Spurs-Brighton result today.
Yeah, there's been a few of those matches. There was United-Sheffield United. There was the Brighton result. But in all honesty, they're not that surprising anymore because we expect this inconsistency from these teams because there's no fans, because there's all these different aspects that it just makes the parity that much tighter. And still, it probably will be Man City or Liverpool who wins the title. But, I mean, who knows? Leicester are top 4. West Ham were top 4 for a while. There's so much ability for upward trajectory for so many clubs. It's a very exciting year.
That's actually a good thing to look at. We should take a look at that. How many teams have been in the top 4 this year, or the top 6 this year versus other years at this stage of the game?
There's 6 teams who have been first place already, and there's only 20 teams
That's
in the
crazy.
division.
I can't recall that happening in a long time.
No, neither can I.
First up, Arsenal, Man United at the Emirates. A draw that you called. Actually, you called 5 draws. So 1-for-1 on the draw. Was not a dull match as far as scoreless draws go. Arsenal was aggressive. United had more than their share of chances. This is what Man United have done, though, against the Big Six side so far this year. You talked about it in the lead-in where they kind of play a little bit conservatively. They don't want to get beat. Across the 6 matches so far, they've scored once, they've drawn 4 times, and they've lost twice. Not a win yet against the top 6. I don't think you can win a title that way, playing that way. But Arsenal did not have Saka, Tierney, or Aubameyang, yet they managed to extend their unbeaten streak to 7 matches. Arteta's figured this thing out, even though there's a goalless draw, but still.
No, I think the big issue with Man United is that they are not a one-trick pony, but they are very one-dimensional, and it's a problem for them because fundamentally...
And that dimension looks like Bruno Fernandes.
Exactly, yeah. He carries that team, and we won't talk about it this video in specific, but Spurs with Harry Kane, those are 2 clubs that rely heavily on one player because he didn't play against Brighton and they struggled heavily. So I imagine that this is kind of just how Man United are. They are not comfortable enough in their tactical understanding under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to be more attacking against these better sides who are more structured defensively, who have more talent compared to them. And fundamentally, if you are as much better than Arsenal as you claim to be, you need to be winning these kinds of results. You need to be picking up points against these likes of teams. Because yes, they are Arsenal, but they're also 10th place. They've also been very bad this season. They still are a work in progress. So this was disappointing for Man United, I think, in a lot of regards. But I mean, as you mentioned, the only goal they scored was a penalty in the 3rd minute of a match they later on went to lose 6-1. So they really are not having a good time against the proverbial big 6, but they're doing well against the sides that are good this year, the West Hams, the Leicester. So it's a mentality issue as well as I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is afraid to be more open, to be more exposed, but also in turn be more aggressive. So I'm not really sure what to make of this. There's a lot of chances for Cavani, a lot of chances for Rashford that they didn't bury. So maybe Solskjaer isn't able to. He's not able to control that. But I think for Arsenal, this is a decent result. I think you might have wanted a bit more. You were a bit more open than you would have liked to be, and you were forced against Leno was very good, and they didn't bury their chances. But fundamentally, I think this is better for Arsenal than it is for Man United because they can move on from this and say, well, we were competitive against Man United in both results. You won 1, you drew 1. So I think Man United will be a little disappointed with this. That's how I take it.
Arsenal 10th on 31, as we mentioned. Next face Wolves. Quick turn on Tuesday. United 2nd on 41, 3 points back of City, home to Southampton. Also turning fast on Tuesday. Southampton, Aston Villa. Southampton were the better side in this match, but their poor run of form continues in the 1-0 loss at the St. Mary's to Aston Villa. Ross Barkley headed home the cross from captain Jack Grealish, and that would prove to be the match winner in the 41st minute. Emi Martinez did some good work in the second half. Ings thought he had the equalizer in the 95th minute or so, only to be called offside by the very edge of the edge of the edge of his shirt sleeve. And I think I texted you as this happened. I was like, NBA style tank top uniforms is the answer to this VAR offside rule, because they're measuring. It depends on how long your sleeve is. If his sleeve was shorter, he's onside. If his sleeve is longer, he's offside. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't know what the solution is, because offside is you literally draw a line in the sand and you say if you're on this side, it's illegal. If you're on this side, it's okay.
But it's his shirt sleeve.
They changed the rule, actually, I think, to be more lenient, but with VAR it was also it just makes it more chaotic, because you see Mane against Everton where it was the line against the edge of his shirt, and you're saying, how on earth is that offside? Because the fundamental of the rule is that did he have a distinct advantage by being that much further ahead, where his bicep was further ahead than the last leg of the defender? And the answer is no. I don't know what the solution is, but ultimately Southampton, to kind of critique them and say they shouldn't be moaning too much, is fundamentally you had 2.5 XG to just 0.77 for Villa. You created the chances, you just didn't bury them, and you failed to convert the ones that were legal. So they have only themselves to blame that they waited so long and it was so tight. I think they definitely are not in any case to be worrying. Yes, they've lost 3 straight, but they have Man United next, which they are topsy-turvy for Man United themselves. So that a win there or a draw there could kind of boost their season. So for Villa, I think this is a good win. You got the win ultimately. Performance was a bit lackluster, so you want it. You'll take the 3 obviously and go and run away with it, actually, because you kind of stole it. But
100%. This is a smash and grab, even though it wasn't late.
Yeah, I think that you happy with this. I'm not happy with the performance. West Ham next. That's going to be an interesting one, because both sides are in higher positions than they'd expect them to be, because I always forget if I had them relegated or if you had them relegated. I think I had them relegated. And they're in 5th, and they were somewhat competitive with Liverpool today. So this league is bonkers.
Southampton 11th on 29, just 2 points behind the aforementioned Arsenal. Have the quick turn also on Tuesday, traveling to Old Trafford, as you mentioned. Aston Villa moving up to 9th on 32, hosting West Ham on Wednesday. Chelsea, Burnley. Thomas Tuchel, 4 changes to the team, got goals from 2 defenders, and his first win as a manager in the Premier League. Chelsea dominant, 71% possession. Burnley didn't have a shot on goal until second half stoppage time. Tuchel, far more experience than Lampard, obviously. He's going to run through many different lineups. He's got to see what he's got. Relying on the old guard, so to speak, to rely on the veterans. But this is a side that can absolutely challenge for the top 4, especially with him at the helm, I think. Burnley now lost 3 of 5, but they are 8 points clear of Fulham, so you think that they're pretty safe.
I'm gonna start talking about a club that's not one of these two. That's Manchester United. They should be looking at the revolution of Thomas Tuchel in just a short amount of time at Chelsea and be saying, this is what happens when you have a manager who is actually a tactical genius, which is what Thomas Tuchel is. He's got some man management problems. You either hate him or you love him, essentially, if you read what people say about him. He conflicts with the board often. So there are flaws to Tuchel as a manager, but fundamentally he's a phenomenal student of the game. And he is able to look at the squad Chelsea have, assess it, and immediately make them better defensively and have more potential to grow offensively compared to Frank Lampard, who I think could be a great Chelsea manager when he has a lot more experience learning how to be a manager.
Way too soon.
It was way too soon for him.
Way too soon.
And so this is, I think, already paid off as a great managerial decision, because you're going to be able to get some improvement, some increased ability from your squad. Your forwards aren't scoring. Werner still has gone 12 without a match in the Premier League, and Havertz still hasn't scored. But you got 2 goals, and you scored against Burnley, which the champions couldn't do at home just about a week ago at this point. And so this is a good result, I think, for Chelsea. And they were dominant with the possession, and fundamentally we learned that Marcos Alonso was robbed as one of the great strikers of our generation, because he just knows how to score goals. He's somehow a great poacher.
He's way out of position as a left back.
But
He's not.
It was Aston who was I believe it was a right center back and then a left wing back were the ones who scored the goals. So
It's like two defenders score your goals.
you had some overlapping runs. You had interesting
Tuchel mentioned it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was nice. Burnley, you had the 2 wins before this one, which were pretty good. So I don't want to say they're in a relegation battle, but getting those 6 points and then dropping here. If you had offered them 6 points from Liverpool, Villa, and Chelsea, I would have bit your hand off for it, to be honest. And so this wasn't the worst performance. It was obviously below their standards that they would want to be defensively, but I'm not too worried if I'm Sean Dyche.
A draw and a win for Chelsea in the early goings with Thomas Tuchel. Next up, a London derby traveling to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. That match is on Thursday, and Burnley will be home to Man City, winners 2 of their last 3. City obviously have won everything. That's
the makeup game, isn't it? From the very beginning of the year.
Could be. I don't know. It's the Wednesday matchup. Next up, Leicester Leeds. Leicester get the opener through Harvey Barnes, and then Patrick Bamford happened. He fed Stuart Dallas for the equalizer almost right away. He scored a goal of his own 19 minutes from time before setting up Jack Harrison on a prototypical Leeds United goal where the two of them are clear on goal. He slots it just to the right to Harrison, who just gets the easiest goal of his life in the 84th minute. First Premier League loss for Leicester since early December, and the first time they've dropped points from a winning position so far this year. We talked about how much the loss of Vardy and Ndidi would hurt them, and it clearly did. They were ahead slightly on the expected goals, but luck really didn't go their way in this one. They just need to be a little bit more clinical.
How often do we say clinical with Leeds? Patrick Bamford was phenomenal, as you mentioned yourself. He is. What was amazing about that last one for Harrison, how unselfish he was. How many strikers in the Premier League do you think are looking at that situation and not saying, I'm smashing this home myself? Because you're a striker, you got to be selfish, you got to have that mentality. But he didn't. He was very open with it. He just squared it to Harrison. He just tapped it in. It was a very easy goal. And so this was very good from Leeds. I think, as you mentioned, prototypical Leeds, where you were quick in the transition of your play. You were a bit open at the back. It's not what you want to have in your game, but it's part of your game as a result of how you play.
When your defense is to hold on to the ball, that's going to happen.
Exactly. I think Vardy's one of the most clinical finishers in the league. Missing him showed in the XG, 1.86, just 1 goal scored. And so
they're not getting the penalties they were getting either because they're not creating the chances, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was always expected to tone down. I don't think it's like a tactical change or a lessened amount of attacking nuance. I think it's just you have a certain amount of luck in terms of penalties. Is that just it's like a roller coaster. It goes up and down. So I think this is huge for Leeds because Leicester are a high-flying team. They're easily, in terms of play style and first starting 11 talent, I think they're a top 5 team in the league, easily.
Depth is their problem.
Depth is their problem. They're missing some of that talent. But this was huge for Leeds because there's always been that creeping doubt of how good are they really. But when it was Rafinha and Rodrigo were both injured, that meant that most of this starting 11 was players that were in the championship last year. It's not like he's been making severe overhauls to the squad. These were championship players that he's playing in an incredibly positive, incredibly open game style and having a lot of success too. They are a mid-table Premier League side, which people were saying probably low bottom half, around 15 was probably where they're probably going to fall. They're doing much better than that. Not much better, doing better than that. And I think they have much more ability to go even further.
When you look at their line in the table right now, 9 wins, 2 draws, 9 losses. Right? I mean, that's them in a nutshell, right? 35 goals scored, 36 conceded.
Yeah.
29 points on 12. They next host Everton Wednesday. Leicester, meanwhile, to your point, fall to 4th on 39 points, but they have Fulham at Craven Cottage. You think they can get to 3 there, even if you don't have an Ndidi and a Vardy. But Fulham have been playing scrappy, but again, they are in that 18th spot. So I suspect Leicester will be able to go back and gets that full 3. Last up for us this week, West Ham and Liverpool. After scoreless first half, I thought you were gonna bookend your predictions with a draw on the front end and a draw on the back end. But second half, Liverpool shredded West Ham. Salah with the brace. The second goal, a thing of absolute beauty. You talk about the break that Leeds had, but the diagonal pass, that thing went 60 yards, 80 yards, however far it went from Alexander-Arnold to Shaqiri, who then put a high looping ball back across the pitch, right at Salah's feet, traps it, stops it with the right foot, and then flicks it off to the left. Just a thing of beauty, absolutely unbelievable. Firmino, that was the match winner. If it would turn out to be the match winner. Firmino came on, final 20 minutes, cut the ball back for Wijnaldum, West Ham, the late consolation goal from Craig Dawson. But this was just Liverpool through and through in the second half.
It was brilliant. That second goal for Salah was unbelievable. And also the interaction, we also texted about it, was between Milner and Klopp. Milner gets pulled off for Curtis Jones. Curtis Jones immediately makes a huge impact, gets the assist for Salah. It's like, oh, that's why you were off. So it was a great performance for Liverpool. They'll be disappointed they lost the clean sheet because they allowed a few chances for West Ham, but
that was sloppy at the end there.
When they started clicking, they clicked, and it was really good to see. Alexander-Arnold continued to be in pretty good form with that great long pass to Shaqiri, who equally had a great pass. But those two were both outdone by the first touch with the right foot and the flick. I mean, you already said it yourself, but I describe it again because it was just so beautiful. You have to watch it.
Unbelievable.
If you haven't seen it.
It was. I watched it 30 times. It was just incredible.
It was if there was a Puskás award for team goals, it would have been that one. That one would win easily because it was brilliant. He was off of a West Ham corner, about 4 touches from one corner of the box to inside the 6-yard box, pretty much. It was.
And that's
brilliant.
what West Ham do is they try to score on the opponent's set pieces.
Exactly.
They got beat by their own tactic.
And West Ham were in a great run of form, 4 straight Premier League wins, and then this performance, because this is Liverpool, I think, slowly making a bounce back. They'll be disappointed that they had those 5 that they dropped points in, because I think City are still heavily favored for the title, and come May when City lift the title, we'll probably talk about that stretch in January where they dropped 5 matches in a row. But this is what you have to do to react. You have to bounce back, and they've done just that. West Ham, I think, will be very disappointed in this performance because I think they could have taken it to Liverpool because they are not assured at the back. They're making some moves actually on deadline day because of the injuries to Matip and Fabinho.
And everybody else in the center back rotation.
Yeah, exactly. With Van Dijk and Gomez probably not going to play at least this season, maybe not even this calendar year in the case of Joe Gomez because of how bad his knee injury was. I'm interested about this case of Gini Wijnaldum. That's the last thing I'll say is where is he going to go from here? Because he had a pretty good performance again. He's just talking about injuries everywhere. Thiago, Henderson, Fabinho, Mane was out this game, which is also you're able to deal without him. Wijnaldum, just his muscles are made of titanium. He is a machine. He is there week in, week out, performing pretty well every week. He scored a goal second of this season. They're going to miss his reliability and his consistency in terms of being available because Naby Keita, one of my favorite midfielders to watch, I believe he's one of the best midfielders in the Premier League when he plays, but he's made it class. He barely plays. So how good are you if you're not even available? For Ronaldo's not even a question because he's always available. So if they lose him to Barcelona or wherever, it's going to be a sore loss for Liverpool come the summer because he only has a few months left on his contract.
West Ham remain 5th on 35s, courtesy of the Spurs losing to Brighton. They traveled next to Villa. Liverpool moved 3rd on 40. Next host Brighton, who did play the Giant Killers today, as we mentioned. We didn't preview that Brighton-Spurs match, but no Harry Kane was clearly a problem for them, as you talked about earlier. And Gareth Bale didn't do much to give you any kind of confidence that he's got something to offer that Mourinho's side.
People compare the Gareth Bale loan a lot to the Radamel Falcao loan, or I forget it was a purchase at Manchester United a few years back, where he was this great historic player, and then he kind of just did nothing because
he was
injuries,
past his prime. Yeah.
Just not a right fit. I'm interested if Gareth Bale has a place in the squad for the next few months. I'm not sure about that. That was a really bad performance from Spurs, though. If they want Mourinho to win trophies, they need to improve that defense drastically.
Well, Alderweireld was the only thing that kept that from being an absolute disgrace for them. That guy, he was everywhere. The other one we didn't preview, Newcastle 2, Everton 0. Steve Bruce suddenly, all of a sudden, they get a new voice in the back room. They got another assistant manager in there. Is he saving his job? Is that enough? Or is he just got to keep on grinding out? It's terrible for Everton. They looked awful.
Yeah, they outplayed them. And I'm not going to say that saved his job individually because they're still not completely relegation. It's not completely wiped off of your mind. after that performance, but it seriously does improve things because you would have been 4 straight losses. Now you got to win. So, and it was not against a team you were expected to beat. Everton are very good this year, and you controlled it against them. They're also inconsistent. They have their own problems, but it gives you a lot of optimism. You have Palace next. So I think there's a lot of reason for optimism now for Newcastle all of a sudden. But Newcastle fans, don't be optimistic because
No.
that's Newcastle. They take your optimism and then they punish you for having any of it.
They crumple it up and throw it in the garbage.
Exactly. Yes.
Little bonus talk for week 21. Jack, Conrad, this has been the 45. Please do like, subscribe. Let us know what you think in the comments. Look for us on the Twitter at the 45. Take care now.